What is up guys, my name is Abdul Nafi and welcome back to my brand new class. And in this one we're going to be learning how to create the amazing looping animation which you saw in the intro. So yeah, without any further ado, let's start. So for this, what we're going to be doing is, first of all, we're going to be creating the shape of the cube. And for that, if you don't know, these are the primitives, and we're going to be using primitives for creating our cube. So just press and hold this and you have all these pre-made shapes available for you in CINEMA4D. And we're just going to be pressing this one right here to create the cube. Or alternatively, if I press delete and delete that cube, if you want to make a cube, you can just directly press this button and a cube will be made for you. And now, although this tutorial is aimed for beginners, I will assume that you do know how to do the basic stuff, for example, zooming in and out, moving the camera, and all that stuff, very basic stuff. And how, so for example, how to open the 4 views, and how to use the basic tools in CINEMA4D. So yeah, that you should know. And if you're not really good at CINEMA4D, so if you have like less than a month of experience even, you should be good to go for this tutorial. So yeah, let's start. Okay, so first of all, we have this cube, and now you can see these edges of this cube are very sharp. Okay, so we have these sharp edges. So what we're going to do to fix that, to smooth out the edges, we have this thing called fillet. Now if you press the cube, you're going to see in this object menu, you're going to see this fillet right here. And if I press this, you're going to see that it is suddenly become smooth. And you can see this is pretty smooth now. In fact, it's a little too smooth, is it? No, it's fine. I think we should increase it a little more too. So you have 4 centimeters, fillet radius 4 centimeters should be fine. And that is our first shape, which is ready. So moving on to the second shape, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be creating this sphere. Now either you can press and hold this and create a sphere like that. But what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna delete that. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna teach you another way of creating a sphere, which is pretty simple, and I personally prefer that. So to do that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be holding control on our keyboard, and you're going to see this symbol on the right side of our cursor. And now if I press and hold this, if I drag this, you're going to see that we are creating a duplicate or a copy of this cube. Now you can see in our object viewer, we have 2 of these cubes. Now this one I'm going to rename it to sphere. Okay. The reason for that is because we are going to be converting this cube into a sphere. Now the way we do that is we increase the fillet radius a lot, and you're going to see if you increase it to say 100 centimeters, you're going to see that it looks something like a cube. However, it has a lot of sharp edges and it does not look good, of course. So to fix that, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be increasing this fillet subdivision, so say something like 25, I guess. Yeah, now you can see we have this perfectly smooth sphere. Now the good thing about this is that if I go into my right view or any of my views, you're going to see that these two are the exact same size. Now this is the benefit of creating shapes like that. So the size and everything else is basically the same. And now just a reminder to save your project, just press Ctrl S, and I'm just going to save it anywhere I want. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, so the thing is, saving your projects is very important, and I would suggest you to save your project as we go along, and I will try to give you reminders to save your project as well. Now the thing is, in the animation, these 2 things are basically one, and this cube converts into a sphere. So to do that, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be using something called a cloner. Now a cloner, you must be familiar with a cloner. Even if you're a beginner in CINEMA4D, you should be familiar with the cloner because it's very basic, and it's one of the strengths of CINEMA4D. So yeah, so to use the cloner, what we're going to be doing is we're going to go to this MoGraph menu. We're going to press this, and we're going to press this cloner right here. Now usually we use this cloner to duplicate objects, and we are going to be using the cloner for that too. However, in this, we're going to be merging these objects into one using the cloner. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be selecting both of these, the sphere and the cube, and we're going to be dragging them on top of this cloner to make it a child of the cloner. So for cloners to work on an object, what you need to do is that you need to make the objects a child of the cloner. That's just how CINEMA4D works. And yeah, so now if I select this cloner, you're going to see that this is this weird thing is created. And so we're going to tweak some settings in the cloner, and we're going to fix that in just a bit. So first of all, this clones, if we were using it, if you were using this cloner to make duplicate copies of an object, then we would use this iterate mode. But in this, we're going to be using this blend because we need to blend this this sphere and this cube. Now you're going to see that this is an absolute mess. So we're going to reduce the count because we only need 1. So we're going to reduce the count to 1. And so the thing is, right now the Y position is 50 centimeters. So the thing is that the two shapes are 50 centimeters away from each other, right? So to fix that, we're just going to set it to 0 centimeters, and that is just something you have to do. And yeah, so we should be good to go. And now is the time for the magic. Okay, so if we're gonna what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be using a plane effector. Now, what a plane effector is that you basically can do a lot of stuff with the plane effector, and we're gonna be using it to modify this clone, and we're gonna be using it to blend between the two objects. So yeah, I'm just gonna show you how we're gonna do it in just a second. So you have to press this cloner, you have to select this cloner. If you don't select it, it's not gonna work. So you have to select this cloner, that's very important. And then you have to go to the more graph menu, effector, and this plane effector. Okay, now this plane effector is directly going to be affecting this cloner because we had selected it when we were opening it. And now you can see this the Y coordinate is messed up, and it has what do you call it, it has pushed our object 100 centimeters into the Y axis. So to fix that, we're just going to set this back to 0, and you're going to see that it has come back. Now, what we're going to be using this plane effector for is that we're going to be using one specific property of this plane effector, and that is this modify clone. Now, this modify clone is what we can use to modify these shapes and to basically to transition between the two shapes. And if I increase this, you're going to see that it is transforming into a cube, and that is exactly what we want. Isn't that perfect? Isn't that good? So now what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be affecting this object in certain areas only. For example, the thing is that we are going to take a linear field, and in that field, only in that field, we're going to be modifying this shape. And if our object is not in that field, it's not going to be affected. Okay, so that is how we're going to be doing it, and you're just going to understand in just a second. So we're going to select the plane effector, we're going to go to fall off, and we're going to select this linear field right here. And if you select that, you're going to see that our ball suddenly has turned green. And the thing is, the problem right now is that the direction of this linear field is in the x-axis. Okay, so we're going to select the direction, and we're going to be setting it to y-axis because we want it to act vertically. Now the thing is, if I go back to my parameter, and if I set this modify clone to 100, like now you're going to see, if I set it to 100, you're going to see that if I go back into the fall off, and if I select this plane linear field, if I move this, you're going to see that it is suddenly affecting only the areas which have passed through this linear field. Okay, so we're going to be animating this linear field, and so for example, this is the initial frame of our animation, and then this is going to animate, and it's going to be converted into a sphere. So that's very easy, and it is very good as well. So yeah, that's the way we're going to be doing it. So one thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the size of this linear field. So I'm just going to press D, and I'm going to increase the size a little bit, and something like that. Maybe even the length actually should be fine. Yeah, that should be fine. So if I just move it once again to make sure that it's still working, yes it is. Also, another reminder to save your project, just Control S, sorry, and save your project. Okay, so now we have one of our cubes or spheres, whatever you want to call it. One of our objects is ready, and now we're going to be using another cloner to basically what we're going to be using it for is to actually clone these objects and to make a grid out of them. Okay, so we're going to be creating another cloner by going to the move graph, and we're going to be selecting a cloner. And this cloner, what we're going to be doing is now these objects are a child of this our cloner one, our cloner. Okay, so we're going to be making this whole cloner a child of this new cloner one. Okay, so I'm just going to take it and make it a child of that. And now this cloner one is going to be affecting this cloner. Okay, and since these the sphere and the cube are a child of the cloner, it's going to be indirectly affecting those two. And yeah, you're going to see this absolute mess right here, and we're just going to be fixing that in just a second. So the thing is, this mode, this defines the way you want your object to be cloned, and we're not going to we don't want it to be cloned into a linear line. We want it to be cloned in a grid array. So if I press that, you're going to see this amazing shape is being formed. And yeah, so the count is so right now the count is 3 by 1 by 3. Okay, so if I increase this, you're going to see that we have a 3 by 3 grid. So now if I set this, if I what do you call it, if I set this to 4, you're going to see that this is happening. And now if I select the plane effector and if I move it across, you're going to see that it is gradually affecting those. Okay, so one thing which I'm noticing is that one problem which I'm noticing is that it is affecting in the opposite direction. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be pressing R, and we're going to be holding Shift to rotate in increments of 5, and we're going to be rotating it exactly 180 centimeters. So if I press E to bring back the move tool, and now you're going to be seeing that is how exactly we're going to be doing our animation. And you're going to see it looks pretty good. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Okay, so now let's actually start animating this stuff. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this timeline, and I'm going to set the timeline to say something like 350 frames because we want it to be pretty long. Now you're going to notice that the timeline is still from 0 frames to 90 frames, although we have set it to 350 frames here. That is because the length of the timeline has not been increased yet. So if I just select this and if I increase it, you're going to see that our length is now 350. And we want this animation, basically this animation of this being converted into balls, we want that animation to start from something like the 100 frame, because before that the cubes are going to come out of the ground, and then the animation is going to start. Okay, so something like that should work. Just save your project, and if I set it for 100 frames, and if I select this plane effector, and if I go into the coordinates, you're going to see that we have all these coordinates. Now if I move this, I want you to notice which of these coordinates are being changed. So which of them are being changed? What you're going to notice is that only this Y coordinate is being changed because it's only being moved in the vertical axis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it right here, and I'm going to set a keyframe. I'm going to press this button to set a keyframe. And now if I move forward in time, so for example, say 80 frames, and if I move down, and now if I press this button, you're going to see that it is going to be animated. Now if I play this animation, you're going to see how cool does that look. Doesn't that look amazing? So one thing which I'm going to change is that I'm going to be setting this keyframe to say 200 frames, because 200 should be a nice number. So starting from frame 100 and going to 200. So that just satisfies my OCD. And now next up, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be making these balls go up after they convert into these balls. So yeah, the way we're going to be doing that is we're going to be selecting this sphere, and we're going to be right clicking this, and we're going to be going into the simulation tags. Now the simulation tags, you can use these to actually simulate gravity and simulate stuff like that. So we're going to be selecting this rigid body because these are rigid and these are not soft. So if they were soft, then we would use soft bodies. So yeah. Now one thing you're going to notice is that they're going to fall down as soon as we play the animation. So as soon as they are being created, they're falling down. And I know it looks very weird, but we're going to be fixing that in just a second. Okay, so yeah, right now the thing is that they're falling down, and we want them to go up. Okay, so the way we're going to be doing that is we are going to press this mode button right here, and we're going to go into this project, and we're going to be modifying the project settings. Okay, so in this project settings, we can go into the dynamics, and you're going to see this gravity, this thing, which is set to 1000 centimeters. So now if I set a negative value in this, what's going to happen is that gravity is going to act in the opposite direction. So for example, if I say negative 250, so now if I play this animation, you're going to see that they slowly go up. Now the speed is extremely slow. So what we can do is that maybe we can try increasing this to negative 500, say. So now the problem is that when we play this animation, you're going to see that they are going up, but they're going up in the same exact formation which they are in, and we want them to be randomly scattered because they are bubbles after all. The way we're going to be doing that is we're going to be using this something called a turbulence. And so to fix that, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be going to this simulation menu, and we're going to be coming down. If you're below version 21 or R21, you're going to be going into this particles, and you're going to be selecting turbulence in this menu. But I am using R21, so I'm going to be going into what do you call it? Where was it? Yeah, forces. Okay, we're going to be going to the forces, and we're going to be selecting this turbulence right here. Okay, now this turbulence, we can basically change the settings. So for example, the strength, we can set it to something like say 20 centimeters. How about that? And now let's play and see if it makes any difference. So right now you're going to see that it makes a somewhat of a difference, a very slight difference though. So you can see these are being scattered, but not that much. So how about we set it to say something like 50. I'm going to play this animation again. And you're going to see this looks pretty good, doesn't it? What if we increase it to say 100? Because I don't know, man. It just looks, I just like some turbulence. Okay, yeah. Okay, so now it's really making a huge mess. So 100 centimeters is way too much. How about 60 centimeters? Let's try that. I think that looks pretty good, doesn't that? Okay, so now we are, the bubble animation is complete. Just save your project because I don't want you to lose all this hard work that you've done so far. And yeah, let's move on to the next step. So to actually increase this turbulence, one thing we can do is to increase the scale. And if we set it to say 100%, and even if we reduce the strength to say something like 50, we're gonna see that it looks much better. And now you're gonna see that it's affecting them as soon as they convert into these balls. So yeah, I like that better. Okay, so now my friends, the difficult part is over, and now it's just some easy, simple modeling. And the way we're going to be doing that is we're going to be creating a plane. So that's a plane, and we're going to be pressing T to bring up the scale tool, and we're going to be scaling it up. So something like that should be good, maybe. Actually, that's way too small. So how about say this much, because we want him to really cover the whole perspective. So yeah, something like that should be good. And now we're going to be moving it down. Press E to bring the move tool, and that should be good. I'm going to go to the right view, and we're going to be placing it so that this cube is directly resting on the surface. That should be good. And next up, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be creating a hole in this. And the way we're going to be doing that is that we're going to be selecting a cylinder. So just press and hold this, and just open a cylinder, and then we're going to be scaling it up, something like that. And we're going to be reducing this. And right now you can see that it has these sharp edges. So to fix that, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be selecting this cylinder. So we're going to be going to this object menu, and we're going to be increasing the rotation segments to something like say 50 maybe. 50 should be good. And now we're going to be moving it down. So that is, it's basically intersecting this plane. And now what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be subtracting this this cylinder from this plane to create a hole, basically. And the way we're going to be doing that is pretty simple, actually. So we're going to be selecting both of these, and we're going to be going to this, actually not this menu, and we're going to be selecting this bool. Okay, now this bool, we're going to be selecting both of these cylinder and the plane, and we're going to be dropping it inside the bool. Now you're going to see that it has it's basically doing the opposite effect. It's basically subtracting this the plane from the cylinder. So what if we take this plane, and if we place it above the cylinder? Now you're going to see that it has created this hole. And to actually increase the size of this hole, we can just take the cylinder and we can increase the size of the cylinder, and that is going to make it look much better. Now what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be selecting a tube. If we're going to be going into the primitives menu, and we're going to be selecting a tube, and we're going to be increasing the size. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the top view, and I'm just going to position it accordingly. Just a second. Let me just press the T. That should be good. I hope it's not intersecting. Let's move it down. Something like that should be good. Now this also has some sharp edges, so we're going to be increasing the segments in this as well. So rotation segments, let's just set it to 50, and we're also going to be adding this fillet to make it smooth. So we're going to add the fillet, and you're going to see that it has become pretty much smooth. Let's increase it to 4. Let's actually increase these rotation segments to something like say 60, because I still can see some sharp edges. So yeah, that should be good. Now let's actually increase the size of this cylinder to make the hole bigger, and let's increase the size of this tube as well, so that we have some more space in your for your this stack, this grid of cubes. So just save your project once again, and we should be good to go. Now most of our animation, most of our modeling is done, and yeah, now we're going to be animating this grid array, this grid of cubes to come out of this, what do you call it, this hole. So we're going to be going to frame 0, and we're going to be selecting this cloner 1 because this is basically the cloner, and if we move this, you're going to see that we can move it freely. So we're going to be selecting this cloner, we're going to be going to the coordinates, we're going to be observing which one of these we're changing. We're changing this y coordinate only, so I'm just going to press Ctrl Z to bring it back. Now we're going to be reducing this to make sure that it is below your surface. Okay, so let's just make it minus 900. Okay, minus 900 because that is satisfying my OCD. And we're going to be pressing this frame. Actually, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to selecting this white thing right here, so this frame, and we're going to be deleting it. And actually, never mind that. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be moving this frame ahead, because first I just realized that first we have to open this these doors, which we're going to add later, and then this is going to come out, right? So it should start somewhere around here. Okay, so yeah, so 40 frame. Okay, so now after that we're going to go to something like say 60, say frame 70, actually frame let's do 85. We're going to select this again, and we're going to be moving it up. Sorry, yeah, so we're going to be moving it up. Actually, we're just going to be setting it back to 0, and we're going to be pressing this button right here to set this keyframe, and you're going to see that this animation is complete. Now you're going to see that if I save it again and if I play the animation, you're going to see that it comes up and then it converts into these balls. Okay, so I'm just going to delay this animation a little bit because I want this conversion animation to start playing as soon as we what do you call it, as soon as we reach the stop. Okay, so I'm just gonna let it play. Doesn't that look amazing? Okay, so doesn't that look amazing? All right, so let's move on and let's create our these doors. So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another plane. Actually, let's create some cubes. Let's create 2 cubes because we wanted to have some depth as well. So we're just going to be making it really thin, and we are going to be going to the top view to position this properly. And I'm going to increase this size, height, and this width as well. And we're going to be placing it something like that. Okay. Now if I press this, push this down, okay, that should be good. All right, perfect. So, all right, perfect. So next up, we are going to be actually let's just move it a little down. Something like that should work. And we're going to be duplicating this once, and so just press Control and drag it, and we're going to be creating another door as well. I'm just going to position this properly. Yeah, okay. So now what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be going to frame 0, and in fact, let's go to frame 2 because I just don't want it to start as soon as we play the animation. There should be a minor delay, and okay, so we just go to frame 2. And we're going to be selecting this and the coordinates. We're going to be observing which one of them are we changing. So we're only changing the x coordinate. So I'm just going to press this keyframe button, and we're going to be moving some frames ahead. And I'm just going to be opening this like that, and we're going to press this again, and we can see that that's a little too fast. So I'm just going to move this keyframe a little forward. That should be good, and yeah, okay, so let's move it a little bit ahead. Okay, anyway, so we go back to frame 2, and here we're going to be selecting this, and we're going to be setting a keyframe for x coordinate, and we're going to be moving forward to frame 28. I think that was the coordinate, that was the frame in which we were adding it on the other as well. So we're going to be selecting this button once again, and we are going to be seeing that both of them open at the same time. Doesn't that look cool? And let's see how our animation is looking at the moment. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? And now after this is done, what I want to happen is that I just want to close these again. So I'm just gonna go to frame 250, for example, and we're gonna be selecting these cubes. We're gonna be selecting one of them, and I am going to add a keyframe, and say to add, for example, say frame 275. We're gonna be bringing it back to let's just go to the top view and let's see. Okay, that is a pretty messy animation. We're just going to be setting it right here, and yeah, that should be halfway through. And I'm just going to press this button to finalize the keyframe, and you're going to see that this is closing back. And if I go back to frame 250, and I'm going to do the same thing with the other as well. So just set a keyframe at 250 and just go to 275, I guess that was it. Yeah, 275, and we're going to be moving it back. Just go to the top view and make sure it's fine. That is good. All right, we're good to go. And I'm just going to press this button to finalize this keyframe, and let's play this. Play this for final animation, and let's see how it looks. Doesn't that look amazing? And it just closes. And what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be I'm just gonna finish this animation. So something like actually, let's just let it play the whole way. Let's see when are these bubbles disappearing from the screen, so we can just end the animation there. So something like frame 275. So this animation should only run till frame 280. So I'm just gonna set this frame limit to 280, and let's see if it's looping seamlessly. Now you're going to see that this is happening again and again. And let's actually have it run to say frame 300, because we want some delay. We want some slight delay between the two animations, between the looping animations basically. Alright, so our animation is finalized.